we go. All right, so stop me if I go too fast, but this is similar to what we did last week, but there's a very important difference here. Well, a couple. Okay. So last week, the if clauses we talked about were true or possible. Okay. This week, we're talking about something that's unreal, not true, or we're just imagining. Okay. Or even not possible. Okay. So again, the difference in meaning, true or possible, or this is not true, or I don't think this is going to happen. This is just not possible. So which grammar you use depends on the idea and what you're thinking. Are you thinking this is true or it's possible? Or are you thinking, no, this is not going to happen? So that's the difference as far as meaning. All right. So this is actually called the second conditional. So if you ever have to Google it, what we did last week was called the first conditional. This is the second conditional. Again, difference in meaning. So we're talking about what's not true, what's imaginary, or what's impossible, not possible. All right, so let's take a look. So if I studied, I would learn more. So since we're talking about what's not true, the truth is I don't study. Well, like I said, that's what we're getting at is something that's not true. Okay. I'm not saying anybody here. It's an example. Okay. All right. One of my favorite examples. If she won the lottery, she would travel. But did she win the lottery?
No.
No. Is she thinking I'm going to win the lottery? No. She's basically thinking this is just this is what I'm imagining, or this is not possible or not true. It's not going to happen. Okay. All right, last one. I thought you'd all appreciate this one. If I were president, I would change the immigration policy.
This is mine.
There you go.
I can be president because
Uh,
I'm not a citizen.
Yeah,
uh,
I would definitely change ICE. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
we
Uh,
can be president.
yeah, let's have ICE go after actual criminals, you know, no matter where you're from. If you're from here and you're a criminal, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm saying it's not possible I'll never be president. So that's why we're using this form because we're saying something that's not true, it's not possible, or you think this is never going to happen, or it's just your imagination. Okay. So that's the difference in meaning. Okay. Now, what I want you to look at is the verbs. I'm going to underline them. Okay, so take the first one here. Look at the verb. What do you see about this verb?
Simple past.
Sorry, Dee?
Simple past.
Simple past. Exactly right. In the true ones, in the true if clauses, we were using simple present. But for not true, it's past. Okay. How about this one?
Mm.
Anybody ever heard would? I would go. I would learn. This is what we call a conditional. Okay. Will is yes, I will. That's true. That's positive. That's your intention. Would is what we call conditional. Because if I studied, but I don't. If I studied, then I can change the effect. I could change the effect. Okay. But I don't study, so I'm not learning more. So again, when you're talking about not true, imaginary, impossible, your if verb is going to be past, simple past, and your effect is going to be would. Because again, it's not true, it's not sure. We use will to say something that's true or sure, right? But in this case, it's not. All right, questions, comments so far? No, everybody still with me?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow.
This takes a little practice. Okay. So I have a separate slide on this, but I wanted to put an example in here. If you see this verb, normally for simple past, we just say I was. I was in level 2 last year. I was a student for many years. But with the conditional, we use were with everybody. So I were, he were, they were, we were, it were. Okay. I have a slide coming up about this. Okay. But for now, remember simple past. Okay. And then would. Not will. Because I am not president and I'm not able to change policy. So that's why we're saying would. Because it depends on what happens before. Okay, so that's going to be your difference. Let me get out of here for a moment and use my favorite example to show you both the grammar changes and the meaning changes. Okay. So this is what we did last week. If I win the lottery, I will buy a house. Okay. So in this case, you are thinking it's possible. Maybe I play every week. Maybe, okay. So you're thinking it's possible.
But it's not.
Okay. And it's what I will do. Okay. You're using present and will plus the verb. Okay, so difference in meaning, difference in the grammar. Okay. Now, if I take this same thing and I change it to not possible or this is never going to happen, that's what's in my head, right? If I won the lottery, I would buy a house. So I'm thinking it's not going to happen. So that's my thinking, right? If you say, if I win the lottery, you're thinking, hey, I buy tickets, you never know. If you're thinking, if I won the lottery, you're thinking, that's never going to happen. Okay. Okay. And in this case, we use past and then would plus the verb. Okay. So true or possible, present and will. not true, probably not, just my imagination. Okay. Then you're going to use past in the would. Okay. Otherwise, a lot of the rules are the same. Okay, the punctuation is the same rule. Cause and effect, same rule. But the grammar and the thinking, what does it mean, is definitely different. All right, everybody okay on these? So far, so good? We'll wait till we get to the
Yeah.
practice and then we'll wait till we get to the practice and see where we're at, right? All right, let me get this back. Okay. Oops. I went back to my. There we go. Okay. So there's still cause and effect, but these are more of what if? What if I were the teacher? Not teacher Sandy. What would I do different? Okay. So this is the big thing with this is what if. Okay. If I studied, I would learn more. The truth is I don't study. But what if I did study? Well, then I would learn more. But would depends on what you do in the first thing. So still cause and effect. The if thing is first, the would thing is second. Okay, so a lot of that's very similar to what you're already doing. Okay. So read these and think about these for a minute. Remember, when you see the if with the past, it's something that's not true. Okay. So if you could change it, what would happen?
Sorry.
All right. So think about this first one. If I didn't exercise, what would happen? What would happen if I didn't exercise? Y'all need to turn on your microphones and talk to me, please. If I didn't exercise, what would happen?
I will feel tired.
I would feel tired all the time. Good. Okay. What else? If I didn't exercise, nobody else wants to try one? All right, we'll look at my examples in a minute. All right, let's try the next one. If he got a better job, what would happen if he got a better job?
It won't be not money.
You could do would with this one. He would make more money.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so these are similar to what we did last week. We're just saying in this case it's not true right now. Right? So last week we talked about if he gets a better job, he will make more money. Okay, true.
Okay.
Here we're saying if he got a better job. We're saying he didn't get a better job. So we're saying this isn't true. But if he got a better job, then yes, of course, he'd get more money, right? He would get more money. If they came to class every day, what would happen?
They will learn more.
They would learn more. Mhm. Mhm. That's the thing. So this is, like I said, it's very similar. You're just changing the grammar a little bit, past and would rather than present and will. But it's the same idea. You're just saying it's not true right now. But if I could change it and make it true, then this is what happens next. All right, let's take a look at my answers. Okay. So if I didn't exercise, I would be overweight. Again, as soon as you see that past, that if with past, this is what's not true. At least right now, right? So if I say if I didn't exercise, I'm saying I do exercise. But if I didn't, okay. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, and there's Issa's answer. Oh, I forgot my parenthesis. Ooh, I gotta correct that. If he got a better job, again, past tense. When you use if with past tense, you know this is not true right now. If he got a better job, he would make more money. Oh, that's gonna bother me. I gotta correct that. It's on Canvas that way. Okay. Typo. Okay. I use the pass the test thing. Okay, but if they came to class every day, they would pass the test. Remember,
But
this is not true. So here's the meaning. They don't come every day. If they came every day, they would pass the test. They don't come every day, so probably not going to pass. Okay. So remember, you're just dealing with something that's not true right now. And how could you change that? Right? So for you guys, for example, if I spoke English fluently, what would happen if you spoke English fluently? You would not be here right now. What else?
I will get a better job.
I would get a better job, right? I'd be completely bilingual and some jobs you would make more money because you get a bilingual, you get extra pay when you're bilingual. You get a job at Santa Ana College, some of our office jobs, if you're bilingual, you get a little extra money. Just saying. Okay. All right, everybody okay? It's very quiet, which is always scary for a teacher. Yeah? Okay. You're going to be practicing these, so remember that. Okay, so the grammar part, which we already talked about, but this is your basic grammar. If plus the past tense, and then would plus the verb, not will, because will is a true for sure. Would is it's not true. I'm just saying if I could change it. So if I didn't, so this is past, it's just negative, I would gain weight. If he got a better job, past, he would make more money. If they came to class every day, they would pass the test. Nice way for you to practice your past tense verbs too. All right, so that's your grammar rule. Like I said, the ones we did last week were present and will. This is past and would. Other than that, okay, and the meaning, other things are the same. Okay, so The only modal, I know last week we talked about may and might and can. The only other modal, would is actually a modal, but the only other one we really use with this is could. Because could has that maybe idea, or if I could change things. Okay. So you can use could. Okay, so I gave you basically, if I didn't exercise, I could gain weight. Okay. If he got a better job, he could make more money. He doesn't have the better job, so he's not making more money. If the children ate a lot of candy, they could get cavities. Okay. So in this case, the children are not eating a lot of candy, so hopefully no cavities. And I think that's the hardest part to like get with these is you're saying something that's not true. You're saying something, if this changed, then the effect would be different. If we had a different president, the country would be better. Sorry, my favorite example. Okay, so here's that slide I talked to you about the verb be. All right, so when we use the verb be, we always use were. Were is the correct form. I know it sounds funny saying if I were, right? Because you learn I was. So I know it sounds a little weird. Okay. So the correct form is were, but many people say was when you're just talking to somebody. Right? So you're going to hear that a lot. A lot of us use this in conversation, just saying, oh, if Emir was nicer to his wife, if I was president. So in conversation, people will say the was, but the correct form in the grammar is were for everybody. Doesn't matter if it's I or we or he or she or it. Grammatically, the correct form is were. Okay, but in conversation, people will say if I was. If I were president, I would change the tax laws. If he were a better salesman, he could make more money. In conversation, if he was. Okay. So up to you which one you use talking. Again, I am a grammar person, so you're going to hear me say were all the time. Because grammar's my thing. All right, questions here? No? Okie dokie. Erase. Go to the last part here. Oops. I know, I didn't tell you to do that. Okay, now I have no idea why it did that. Really? No. Okay, I have no idea why that changed. Okay, I'm gonna boost down here. Okay, so same thing, negatives. You just make the past negative or you make the would negative. Okay. So Oh my goodness. I am so sorry. I typed this wrong. I will, while you are practicing, I will go in and fix this. My goodness. Typo. If plus past tense. So you can say if I didn't study. Sorry, exercise. If I didn't study. If they didn't come. Doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, it's still the rule. If plus past tense. Okay. And then you can do would, or the negative would be wouldn't. So if I didn't exercise, I wouldn't be fit. And it doesn't matter. This can be negative and this can be negative. Or you can have one negative and one positive. Just depends on your meaning. Right. Just the same way you do in any regular sentence. Right. I am from Mexico. I don't speak French. Positive and negative. Again, just depends on your meaning. Okay. If they didn't come to class, they wouldn't pass the test. If she woke up late, she couldn't get to work on time. The biggest thing to remember is the grammar rule. If plus past, would or wouldn't for the effect. And we're going to practice these, so. Okay, same rule that we did in the if with present. You can change the order, and you can put the would part first and the if part second. Same meaning. I would gain weight if I didn't exercise. He would make more money if he got a better job. They would pass the test if they came to class. Same meaning. The if part happens first. The would part happens second. As far as cause and effect. All right. Punctuation. If the if part's first, you have a comma. If the would part's first, you don't need a comma. Same exact rule, but I put it in here so you could see it. Okay. So here's kind of the wrap-up slide where I kind of compared what we did last week. So the first conditional is what we did last week. If I don't exercise, I will gain weight. Something that's true. If he gets a better job, he can make more money. Again, this is true or possible. I would gain weight if I didn't exercise. Past tense, meaning it's not true. I do exercise. This is not true. Okay. He would make more money if he got a better job. He doesn't have a better job, so he's not making more money. So again, not true. Okay. So these are what we call the first conditional, true or possible. These are what we call the second conditional, something that's not true or you think is not going to happen. This is the general comparison of the two. we doing out there, people? Still breathing? A lot of information, I know. Like I said, it's very similar to what you did last week. The difference here is one is the grammar, obviously. You're using past tense and would. But the idea is what's different. Something that's true versus something that's not true. But you're still doing the cause and the effect. That was the end. Okay. All right, we're gonna do a few of these together. So let me get out of the share. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're gonna start with, if you want to do these pencil and paper, that's fine. If you would rather do them in the chat, that's okay too. Or we can do them together, but I want to see if you guys could do these. All right. All right, so take a look at these three. So here's the if part. You'll notice past tense, past tense, past tense. So I would like you to finish them. Let me actually put this up here. Finish with the would or could. Would is more usual. I put a couple of could examples in your practices, but would is more usual. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Like I said, if you want to just write on paper, so you have examples written. If you want to put them in the chat, that's okay too. I'm going to pause the recording here. Okay, so if I could only watch one TV show for the rest of my life, what do we want to say? Oh, silence. Everybody talk to me. I would.
Happy.
Really? You would be happy?
Yeah.
Ooh, not me. Okay. That gives me an idea though. Yeah, so if you use be, you're just going to use be.
I
So you
would
could
be
say I would be
angry.
unhappy.
Unhappy, yes. Or angry.
Okay. I'll give you my answer.
I
I
will
would
stop
watch.
going out.
Oh,
That would be me. So say it again, Amir.
I will stop going out.
Really?
I mean,
You
if
would
I
just stay
really,
home and watch TV all day?
I mean, because sentence going like, if I could only watch TV show for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but if you can only watch one show. So you have to pick one TV show and that's it. All the other shows you can't watch.
Oh,
Anybody else? Oh, let me put Martita's up here. I would choose my favorite show. I would go to the movies more. Maybe. Maybe somebody would read. That would be a good one. Anybody read more books? Okay. Thea, I love it. They would be sailors. Okay. I'm gonna put that one up.
If she
No,
had,
that's a good one.
Yeah. All
if
right. If she had a bigger salary,
she will buy a new house.
she would buy a new house. Good. Okay. Let's put some other examples up. She would, what else would she do?
She go on vacation somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
She would live
She
more
would
luxury.
take a vacation, yes.
Mm-hmm.
She would buy something.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's the idea. So the only difference between what we did last week is we're saying this is not true right now, right? If she had a bigger salary, meaning she doesn't have a bigger salary right now. Okay, so, but if she did, this is what she would do. All right.
If we lived near the ocean, we would go to the beach 2 times a week.
Oh, period.
If
Let me
we
put these.
lived
Let
near
me
the
put these in
ocean,
here. Cute. We would be sailors. Uh-huh.
what does it mean, sailors?
But yeah.
Sailors are the people who go on boats, who
Ah.
drive boats, basically. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
Anybody else got a different one?
we will go swimming every day.
I am living near the ocean.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
not swimming every day.
Although honestly, there was a problem this weekend with some of the water. There was a lot of bacteria, and they had like the really high waves. In a lot of places, they were telling people, stay away, don't go swimming today. So definitely, if you go to the beach, watch the reports. Make sure it's not dangerous.
We will go fishing more.
There you go. We would go fishing. Nice. Yeah, so like I said, this is the idea is that you're using that past tense here. Okay. And then your effect is would, not will. Will means it's true. Would means it's not true right now. Or you don't think it's going to happen. Okay. Nice job, people. Okay. Okay. All right, so this is the idea. Okay. So this is the practice we're going to start with. I'm going to give you the if parts, and you're going to do the would or could if you want. Would is more usual, but you can do could. You're going to do the would parts. Okay. Speaking. Let me pause the recording.